Alright, so today is Thursday. It's just a day after I did my update, but somebody asked a question, and I thought it was a good question. What does the glue joint look like between the plywood and the boat? So here you can see one of the cutouts. You know, I started out using routers, ended up using my jigsaw, so it's not a real smooth or great cut here, but anyway, it's adequate. And when I put the glue on here, and you can see the glue line here, it's not necessarily 100% coverage, and I didn't expect it to be. I didn't try to make it 100% coverage, but as you can see, it's pretty good. Here's a place where there isn't any glue, and then there's a bunch of glue here again. There's a little bit of a space there without much glue. You know, I probably went about every 4 inches, I would say, with a line of glue, and then of course it would squish out a certain amount. So yeah, let's just see how well that is bonded, how much effort it takes to get it apart. Now I'm working on a spot that's where there's no glue, so keep that in mind. Okay, so where there was glue on this piece here, it tore the wood apart, tore the plywood apart. Yeah, which is good. That's expected. Now, do I think this boat's ever gonna have the plywood fall off of it? No. All the screws that I've got and all the glue that I've got on there, I pretty seriously doubt if it's ever gonna come apart. And if it does, I guess you can redo it again. Now, on this piece here, there's significantly more glue. Yeah, and we're splitting the plywood apart. And there we may have gotten a little bit of separation of the glue. Alright, there you have it. Yeah, okay. Well, wherever there's glue, it's pulling the plywood apart. So, yeah. Now, keep a couple other things in mind, too. Where I blow the water line, get my camera out here. Below the water line, I've got more glue. I put more glue everywhere below the water line than I did up above the water line. So areas up there where we're putting the portholes in are not going to be subjected to the same environment as down here, as the underwater part of the boat. So I did use more glue, purposely use more glue down here. And also keep in mind that we're epoxied down here where we attach to the keel. We're epoxied up here at the chine joint, and we're epoxied up there at the hull to deck joint. So yeah, those areas are the most crucial, and they're certainly not gonna delaminate or come apart at the glue line. Alright, so today is Thursday, just a day after I published a video. Look at that. The door is open. It's 59 degrees out there. On January, what is it, 30th? Holy smokes. That's incredible. Yeah. I just wanted to do another quick update. Well, I've got it fresh in my mind on what's going on here with cutting these porthole openings in the hull, and what is now working for me. And here is one I did just today, and I used my jigsaw to cut the initial hole out, and it went okay. You can see here that the blade did wander a little bit, You know, it didn't, you know, stay perfectly perpendicular the whole time. But it's good enough. Like I said, any imperfections we want to fix on the inside, if it looks rough, we can do that from the inside. And whatever I put on the inside here, I may be able to just, you know, take care of it with that too. But so what I did was I cut it out with the jigsaw, cut this hole out with the jigsaw, used a little bit of a drum sander to smooth it up a little bit. You know, if there's any areas where it was not perpendicular to the surface, I, you know, trued it up just a little bit with that, and that worked all right. And then I put the next pattern on here and cut this out. I used my big router with that Diablo bit that I was showing you yesterday, that 1/2 inch deep Diablo bit. I used that for my initial pass, and then I used my small router with a 3/4 inch, and then switched to a 1 inch bit to get the depth that I needed here. Now that was with the pattern, the 3/4 inch thick pattern on there. Now what I found is it's a lot easier to leave the pattern on and always have the router bit follow the pattern, as opposed to what you could do is try to just follow your previous, you know, routing out with the bearing. But I found that you wind up getting just a little waviness or a little bit of rough, or if you get an imperfection in here somewhere, then you transfer that onto the next cut. The next cut deeper, you know, wants to gouge in a little more. So leave the pattern on the whole time and just get your depth deep enough using the pattern for your, you know, for your edge for the bearing to roll on, and then change that up or get deeper by putting longer bits in. Now what I decided to do is go ahead and touch up some of these spots that needed touching up, because what I'm going to have to do is run a round over bit, a small, like a 1/4 inch round over bit over this to round the outside edge of this over. So we need this surface here to be perfect, otherwise we'll wind up getting an imperfection there. And so I've gone along, and anywhere there was a screw or a little imperfection of any sort, or a little, maybe even a place in the plywood that had a little bit of a gap, you know, something like that gap right in there, you know, I've been filling those in. And what I could reach, I've been doing up along the deck here too. So I figured while I had the scaffolding here, I'd go ahead and smooth all that up a little bit to get that ready for fiberglass. But of course there's more work that needs to be done, but yeah, since I was there, I figured I must get some of that done anyway. So that's what we're doing. It's significantly easier using the jigsaw initially, putting the large pattern on there, and then making 3 different cuts to get in the inch and whatever we need to get in there. I think yeah, actually I'm only going 3/4 inch. I'm leaving this 1 1/4 inch thick. So yeah, but I'm doing 3 cuts using that 1/2 inch router bit, then a 3/4 inch, then a 1 inch, because that's up on that pattern that's sticking away from the side of the boat, and that's working all right. Much easier, and it looks okay. So yeah, we're gonna go with that. Hello, welcome to the boat shop. Today is a gloomy 5th of February of 2025. Yeah, a lot of the eastern half of the country is experiencing really nasty weather. We're just nasty. Not snow and sleet and ice and all that, but just, yeah, kind of nasty. Work continues, and I am kind of moving around the boat, getting those port light holes cut into the boat. And after a lot of struggles, it's going significantly better now that I've got it figured out. And so you can see I've got the 4 of them on this side of the boat all cut in there. There's one in the forward cabin, 2 in the saloon, then 1 in the aft cabin. And I think that's all I'm going to put on this side. And then over here, I've got the 2 cut in the saloon, and I've got the 1 started back here for the aft cabin. And I think probably what I'm going to do is put one more up here in the head. I've got that oval one. I think I'll probably put that up here where the head is. And then I've got a head back here too. So I don't know if I'll order another one and put one more back here in the head, or exactly what I'll do back here. I guess that would be right about in here. I don't know. We'll see. I probably should put something in there. And since that's in a position that you couldn't really put an overhead hatch in very well there, I probably should put another porthole in here. So yeah, might have to add one more to my list. But yeah, we're getting there. It's a slow process, but we are getting there. And I haven't felt just real well the last few days either. So that kind of slowed me down just a little bit. But something else that I've been doing, and kind of in the vein of getting the boat moved out of here this summer, I decided to start getting some other things situated. One of which was my inverter back here. It looks like quite the beast there now, doesn't it? But that inverter I bought for the boat, but I had it hooked up supplying power to my house. I've got another bigger inverter that supplies power to the rest of the outbuildings. But I thought I'd try this one out and run the house. It's a 3000 volt amp unit, so it's pretty good size. But it is 12 volt as opposed to my other system is 24 volt. But I decided to go 12 volt here simply, well, for simplicity, to keep things a little simpler. And anyway, so I switched things around on my home system, where now the house is running off that big inverter that supplies all the rest of the buildings. And I put a smaller inverter, well, not really a small one, but a 2000 watt inverter that I'd used in the past, that actually supplied the whole house in the past. And I put that one on my well pump. Originally I had a 12 volt well pump, but they just didn't last long enough. So I switched to a 120 volt well pump, but then of course that's a pretty big draw when the pump kicks on. So you really need something dedicated to that. So that's what I put that other system that used to supply the house with power. It's just running the well pump now, and a little bit of the house. Some 12 volt systems in the house. But anyway, so I moved that inverter out here where I bought it to go, and so when we get the boat moved out now, we can actually, and I hooked it up and got power to it, and it's functioning just fine. So yeah, we got that in here. Be able to do a little bit more wiring. I think what I'm going to do is I'm not going to run a typical shore power connection. I'm going to run power into the inverter, to the charger phase of the inverter, or side of the inverter, and run everything off the inverter as opposed to having shore power supplying power inside the boat. It eliminates a little bit of some possible situations with, you know, shore power being bad and whatnot, because obviously if you're powering the boat off a pure sine wave inverter, you should never have any issues with that. So anyway, so we're gonna run probably it's like a ground fault interrupter for the power coming in, from shore power coming in. And this is an isolated charger now. The AC and DC are isolated, so we will be isolated from the shore power through this inverter charger, and we won't need a separate isolation transformer, or, you know, what's the other one? Yeah. So that'll eliminate the need for an isolation transformer and bad shore power. But we got that in there now. We're working on the port light holes, or the porthole holes. Yeah, we're getting closer to being done with those. I wanted to get those done so that we can start working on the sides of the boat, getting that you know, epoxied and cleaned up and whatnot. The jigsaw is working fine. It is giving me a few issues, like here you can see, and this is where I was talking about with the jigsaw cutting through thick materials. Sometimes you get the blade doesn't want to stay perpendicular to the surface and it wanders a little bit, and I was finding that it was doing that on most of these. Would wander a little bit. Where the cut on the outside was perfect, it on the inside the blade would move a little bit and not leave a perfect cut. But that's not that big a deal. I can fill that, and we're gonna paint or cover or whatever in here anyway. So yeah, that'll be fine. But anyway, yeah, it's slow going, but we're getting there. So yeah, I guess we'll leave it at that for this week. Today I'll probably get that one back there finished up, and maybe get a location for putting one in here. Although there isn't just a whole lot of room in here for one either, but I suppose we can get one in up there, and that'll give us at least some ventilation in the head. All right, we will leave it at that, and I will talk to you again next week.